Hey guys, welcome in Gorilla Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Bulpin, and it's Saturday, December the 14th. All right, we're recapping from Thursday. We had three plays go on. We took Matty Stafford under 244 and a half passing yards. This was a great call. He was under the whole game. He ended up going under this by 80 yards, so it wasn't even close. Great call there. Then we took the LA Rams. We took them plus the 3 points. They ended up winning the game outright, so that was a great call as well. The one losing play was Juwan Jennings over 68 and a half receiving yards. He went 2 for 31 on 9 targets. Oh, 7 misses. One play in particular where Brock Purdy overthrew him when he was about 40 yards down the field, which probably would have cashed out all three of them. Would have been the sweep, but man, they couldn't get anything going. This was a rough, ugly game. No touchdowns scored in the entire game. Brutal game. We ended up going 1-1, so not the end of the world. Let's get into some plays for Sunday. I got a ton of them, so let's buckle up. My first play is we're taking Jaden Daniels, quarterback, Washington Commanders. We're going to take him over 212 and a half passing yards. Now, 213 and a half is the best I can see right now on DraftKings. It's at 220 and a half on FanDuel. So if you're going to bet this, I would bet this soon because I know DraftKings is going to catch up to FanDuel. It's only going to go up. He's gone over in 7 out of his last 11 games. He's averaging 239 yards a game over his last 11. So lots of room there. Saints allowed the 5th most passing yards to the quarterback position. Last 3 out of 4 quarterbacks have gone way over this number. And those quarterbacks are averaging 278 yards a game over that stretch. Washington really needs this win to kind of stay alive in the wild card hunt. So they're gonna come out early and often. They're gonna throw the ball a ton. I like Jaden Daniels over 212 and a half passing yards. My next play is I'm taking Jameis Winston over 35 and a half passing attempts. We've hit this prop a bunch of times already this year. He's gone over in 5 out of his 6 games since becoming the starter. The one miss, as we've said before, was in that Pittsburgh game when it was an absolute blizzard and nobody threw the ball. But even with that game included, he's still averaging 43 attempts a game over that 6-game stretch. That's perfect. Kansas City has a great run defense, so the only way to beat these guys is to pass on them. So I think Jameis is going to be back there chucking it up. Give me Jameis Winston over 35 and a half passing attempts. My next play is I'm taking David Montgomery over 16 and a half receiving yards. We have been smashing this receiving prop for David Montgomery all year long. I mean, it started about 9.5 receiving yards. They've now moved it up to 16 and a half, and it doesn't matter. He's covered this new number in 6 straight games. He's averaging 29 yards a game over his last 6. And it isn't like he's just catching one bomb and like one screen pass. They miss a couple of tackles and he gets there. He's had at least 3 catches in 4 straight games and at least 3 catches in 5 out of his last 6 games. And this is a great matchup versus Buffalo. They give the 3rd most receiving yards to the running back position and the 2nd most receptions to the running back position. It's a great spot. Give me David Montgomery over 16 and a half receiving yards. My next play is I'm taking Cortland Sutton over 70 and a half receiving yards. He's covered this number in 6 straight games. Ever since that 0 target, 0 catch game, he's been an absolute monster. He's averaging 95 yards a game over his last 6. Indy has a terrible defense that Sutton should be able to take advantage of. Give me Cortland Sutton over 70 and a half receiving yards. All right, my next play is we need at least one weird one in there. So we're going to take the Houston and Miami game, and we're going to attack the kickers in this game. Now, I love me some Kymie Fairbairn. Now, my first play, I got 2 kicker props in this game. So my first one is I'm taking over 47 and a half for the longest field goal in the game. Now, that's both kickers combined. Doesn't matter who gets it. Now, Kymie Fairbairn has gone over this number by himself in 4 of his last 5 games. He's made a 50-plus field goal in 6 out of his last 9 games. He leads the NFL in most 50-plus field goals with 13. And Miami gives up the most field goals a game in the NFL at 2.33 per game. Fairbairn is the number 2 kicker as far as kicking points in the league. Believe it or not, it's Chris Boswell that's number 1. Wouldn't have seen that coming, but Kymie Fairbairn's number 2. Now, that's all for just half of the prop. Now, the other side is Jason Sanders. Now, he's gone over 47 and a half in 7 of his last 10 games. He's had 2 field goals in 6 of his last 7 games. He had 4 field goals last game. Two of them were from 50 plus. He's the number 7 kicker in the league as far as kicking points. So I think between these two guys, one of them is going to kick a 48 plus yard field goal. So I love that for one of them. Now, I'm also going to take over 127 and a half total field goal kicking yards. Now, essentially, we need 3 field goals that are over 43 yards combined. Now, Kymie Fairbairn has had at least 2 field goals in 9 straight games. Sanders has had 2 field goals in 6 out of his last 7 games. Now, Jason Sanders kicked for 170 kicking field goal yards by himself last game versus the Jets. And that's the second best kicker in this prop. So I think between these two guys combined, we're going to get over 127 and a half field goal yards. Now, I found those ones on DraftKings. Now, if you guys want to split it up and do maybe a half a unit, if you're a $20 better, $10 on each of them, $100 better, $50 on each, I'm doing personally 1 unit on each. I really like these kicking props. So I am taking over 47 and a half for the longest field goal in the game. And I like over 127 and a half field goal yards combined for the 2 kickers. All right, my next play is I'm taking Stone Smart. You heard me, Stone Smart. This is the backup tight end for the LA Chargers. And we're going to take him over 24 and a half receiving yards. Now, after Will Dissly got injured early in the second half, he came in versus Kansas City and put up 3 catches for 54 yards. Tampa Bay gives up the second most receiving yards to the tight end position, and they were talking this kid up big time on the broadcast, saying how they can't wait to get him on the field. This guy kind of reminds me of Jonnu Smith. He's not exactly the biggest tight end out there, but he's got good hands and he's got good speed. So like his yards after the catch is really good. And at 24 and a half, he just got to kind of fall down twice and he's there. I actually kind of don't mind a ladder on this guy as well. I mean, he put up 54 yards in 1/2 a play versus Kansas City. If you have him for 50 plus for the entire game, also in a great matchup versus Tampa Bay, it comes up to plus 310. So I don't mind kind of laddering him up at 40 plus, 50 plus for smaller unit sizes. So that's just something to think about as well. But we're going to take Stone Smart over 24 and a half receiving yards. My next play is I'm taking Adam Thielen over 50 and a half receiving yards. He's covered this in all 3 of the games since coming back from his injury reserve. The last 2 games were impressive. He went 8 for 99, and then he went 9 for 102 versus a tough Philadelphia Eagles team. Dallas gives up the 8th most receptions to the wide receiver position. And I mean, this is such a low number. The last, 10 wide receiver ones have all smashed over this. I don't want to get into the 177 yards from Jamar Chase versus the same Dallas team. We're only looking for 51 yards out of Adam Thielen. So that's a good spot. Give me Adam Thielen over 50 and a half receiving yards. In that same game, I like Chuba Hubbard over 18 and a half rushing attempts. Now, rookie Jonathan Brooks blew out his knee last game. In the 2 games that Hubbard's played without Jonathan Brooks in the backfield, he's got 28 carries and 26 carries. So he's gone way over this. Carolina has looked like an NFL football team over the last 5 games. Something's clicked since their bye. They've actually looked pretty decent. They've hung with teams like the Eagles, the Bucks, the Kansas City Chiefs. And now they're favorite. I can't believe this. They are favorite over the Dallas Cowboys. So Chuba Hubbard shouldn't get game scripted out of this. They shouldn't be down a ton of points where there's no way they're going to run the ball. As 3-point favorites, it should be a close game on either side. And especially if they're winning the game late in the 4th quarter, they're going to run the ball out with Chuba Hubbard. So I like him over 18 and a half rushing attempts. So that's 9 plays we got going. And I got one bonus play for you. I do like that Detroit money line in the second quarter versus Buffalo. We've been rocking this Detroit in the second quarter for the last couple of weeks, and it's been an absolute monster. They've won the second quarter in 10 out of their last 11 games, outscoring their opponents 177 to 49. We won it last week, albeit with 11 seconds left in the second quarter. They ended up beating Green Bay in the second quarter for us. Now, Buffalo on the other side, in their last 5 games, they've lost the second quarter 3 times. They've had 1 tie and 1 win. So not exactly the best second quarter team either, but we know how good Detroit is in the second quarter. So give me Detroit on the money line. So we're going to take them on the money line. So even if they tie, we get our money back. But I like this look as well. I believe it's a minus 130 to have them in the money line. So that's it, guys. We got 10 plays going for this Sunday, guys. If you're rocking with me, let's roll.